Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuhu. Welcome to the first ever BARMM Tourism Summit press conference. So we are now at the conclusion. Ano? This, should I say, Director Tess, ano? Our first ever BARMM Tourism Summit is not just successful but also remarkable. Ayan. So we welcome all our media partners who are here with us today to um, gather insights and inputs regarding our recently concluded BARMM Tourism Summit. So first, allow me to acknowledge those who are media partners who are here with us today. First, we have 107.3 DXMM Magnet FM. We have the Philippine Information Agency. From XFM, Star FM, Bandera, iMinds, Layag News FM, GMA News, Salam Radio, Mindanao Expose, DXMY, DXMS, Net 25 Brigada, and also the BMP or Bangsamoro Media Productions. Thank you so much for responding to our invitation for our press conference. So allow me to introduce our panel, which is nag-iisa lamang po siya. Siya po yung ating, let's say, woman of the summit. She led the organizing of the as the lead organizer of our BARMM Tourism Summit. Ano? Let's all welcome Director Marites Magindra of the Bureau of Tourism. So at this point, we will now entertain questions. First, you have to introduce yourself, your name, and as well as your organization or entity. So I will be your moderator. So if you have a question, siguro a minimum of 2 questions lang since we are short of time. This is only a 30-minute press conference. Minimize your questions. If ever yung question nyo ay natanong na po ng naunang media na nagtanong, please, wag na po nating ulitin. Okay? So, who? Ato, si ma'am. Kaunahin po natin.
Good afternoon, Odessa Cruz po of Net25. So, our moderator mentioned kanina, ma'am, that this first ever BARMM Tourism Summit was successful and remarkable. What made it successful at this point na unang tourism summit pa lamang po ito? What made what made you say na it is successful at this point?
Well, we have the knowledge, no, that we are just barely 6 years in existence as a new region, as a Bangsamoro region. And we were already able to formulate our Bangsamoro Tourism Development Plan. The fact, other regions, so to speak, never had a tourism plan on its own. So that alone is already a great thing that we have to be honored about, no? As a success because we started our region during the pandemic period. 2019, when there was a turnover, transition from the ARM to the BARMM, pandemic na, end of year of 2019. 2019 to 20 to 21, lockdowns period yan eh. So we probably had missed the 3 years, no? Really to come up with engaging, no? Something forward na of greater significance. So, nag-post-pandemic tayo ng 2023, 2025. So, in just barely 3 years, we were able to show that the region had already crafted a 10-year. It's not a 3-year. It's not a 6-year. But it's a 10-year development framework. So that our local government units could align into that what makes it more meaningful on us coming up with that tourism plan? One, by 2028, the Seal of Local Government, SGLG Awards of DILG would be incorporating additional indicators. And that is for local government units to have its tourism development plan and to have its tourism code. So having had this regional framework already, that in a way, it would just be easy for them because they would just be aligning into the framework. It would ease the preparation kasi there's already a blueprint for them to look into and align towards it. Because our Bangsamoro Tourism Development Plan also aligns primarily to the Bangsamoro Development Plan, the second document. It also aligns to United Nations Development Goals. It also aligns to National Tourism Development Plan. So with that, for the LGUs to really, because we have a lot of LGUs that are actually SGLG awardee. And we wanted to help sustain those recognition because it is a pride to us that we are, that our local government really attuned or aligned to good governance. And the SGLG is just one of the recognition of improving good governance at the LGU level. So that's what really make it successful and significant. Second, this is also the first time of an event in the BARMM region that as prepared as this. No, as you may have noted and look into the program itself, there is no vacant time. All the time has been utilized. More than having the program, the main program like the plenary session, we have exhibition hours. We give time for all our exhibitors to have the opportunity, given the platform, to present to them what are their products and services. Because that in a way, tourism really talks about the product and the services, the hospitality. And it is where these industry players really took their contribution or taking their contribution into the economic growth of the locality. Having had the travel operators, just to be specific about it, most of them are not BARMM-based. They are from other regions. But they are marketing us, they are mainstreaming us into their needs market. So given that, it had affected to the increase of tourist arrival in our places. And when we talk about increase in tourist arrival, that in itself is also an increase in income for our hotels, for our transport group, for the boat that really traverses different site destinations, to the transportation group, to the pasalubong center, to the food, and everything. So that's how tourism trickles down in terms of its contribution. It cut across all sector to include the tour guides. So if you will bring more people to our regions, to the different places, and going to the last mile destination as far as Turtle Island, as far as Sitangkay, as far as Simonol and other places, mga malalayo to di ba? And to the remotest places, no? And going through adventure for mountain and all of that, having them all together come to us, it changed the landscape as to how other people outside the region think of us as Moro people. One of the most challenging challenge of promoting tourism in a region, once a conflict-affected region, is the image. We're always been touted to be chaotic, not us, but the environment. That's always been the stigma that we have to combat. Coming up with activities like this and having you all and the young generation do the uploading and talking a lot of things that is going on in our region, a change. We need to change a mindset. We have to draw again on board the kind of narratives that we wanted for other people outside the region ng mga changes that is evolving. In tourism is an approach. One way to do it is tourism. Inviting friends to come here. De fact, one of the hotel, when they uploaded that they are here, just this morning, I was so busy at the back because a lot of them have come. And they're asking, bakit daw sila hindi naimbitahan? You see? And everybody is awaiting for the next episode of this event so that they could also participate. What does that mean to us? They are now gaining the confidence that making business in our region is open and we are ready because the people are conversing, talking, engaging, partnering, collaborating, and all these things that would really help change what we wanted to achieve in the region. Simple lang naman ang gusto natin sa rehiyon sa turismo na lens. Mabago yung paniniwala nila sa atin. That is why yung tema natin, nakaangkla siya sa heritage. Kasi kung pag-uusapan natin ng heritage, pati yung language natin, yung pananamit natin, yung way of life natin, yung tradition natin, yung ating binigay ng Allah ng mga endowments, pati na yung mga leaders natin that lead, and all the ancestors to include history. These are all part of the 7 domains. Hindi nga lang daw 7 There are already 9 domains of heritage. And that is what the strength that we have. Mayroon tayo lahat nun. That when we talk of Tula Itom, what comes to your mind? It's the Tausug. When you talk of the food alone, food pa lang yan And then when you talk of the language, just the hear of, ay, may takaw yaon. That already speaks of who you are as one of the ethno-linguistic tribe of this region. So when you talk of Inaol and the fabrics, it's all about us. So anything that we do, our way of life is all about us. So how are we going to bring all about us for other people to bridge a deeper understanding and appreciation, and it opens the mind and their hearts. So you now bridge development. You now bridge people to come as they bring investments, as they bring services to us, as they bring their products to us. So in exchange of it, we also would like to leverage that we also provide the kind of service, the kind of hospitality, and the kind of product that we have here. So that's how trade, investments, and tourism comes into place. The fact one of the investor that sits in the B2B area, they're already offering their 100 hectares of land to be a tourism hub. They already had started building a structure that is for MICE. What is MICE? It's for meeting, for conventions, conferences, and any other events, just like what we have here at the KCC. This is a MICE facility where events can be held, and it is where we also held our first BARMM Tourism Summit. So having that investors be interested into opening, they are already looking for other investors to come. And having heard Aboite's presentation, that they're also managing ecozones, that they're also managing tourism hubs. Look, this summit had facilitated that. We bring them to the same platform that we had created for them because they don't know each other. They never had met with each other. We never had heard about Aboites. What we just knew of Aboites is they just provide electrification on us. But more than that, there are more to it. But if not for this summit, who among us could have heard them, could have understood it better, where Aboites could come into place in the region so that it could open more investment partnership, private-public partnership, and so on and so forth. And tourism, in one of the visit of investors in other countries to our region, they're always looking as to how many people are coming to our region because the tourism indicator is an indicator to them
that business will thrive in the region because there are more people that are also coming into the region. More than just the 7 million population that you have in the region. The influx of people within your territory are also bringing investments that would also affect income to the people within. So that's how really tourism interplays into how we're really propelling and look forward to the tourism development in the region.
Thank you, ma'am, for that very comprehensive answer to my question. But I have a second question, ma'am. Of the tourism development plan, ano yung pinaka-focus ninyo doon? What is in store for the tourism providers of the region?
Okay. It's a 10-year framework. It's a framework. The first 3 years is more of the organizing the effort. As you can see, we already bringing in the LGUs to raise their level of consciousness of what we are doing at the regional government in terms of the tourism direction. It would take a while for them to really mainstream and to really engaging us. Their presence here, yung mga tourism, and giving recognition to their events, no? These are preparatory stages para lang mapataas natin yung level of consciousness na hindi lang yan siya pangkultura, hindi lang yan siya event para may event sila at the LGU level, but it is a platform. It is an avenue for them to engage that they have to improve on the designs, on the events that they are conducting. And the same way as they, most of them, because to date, meron lang tayong mga 5 na LGUs that are on the process of preparing their tourism plan. Okay? So the first 3 years would be devoted to really engaging the LGU level and other partners to prepare because the coming years will be more intense. Okay? So the next 3 years would be engaging into the community level. What could have been drawn on the first 3 years, preparing the LGU craft, their tourism directions and their respective community or into their respective LGU. The next three-year phase would be focusing on development, capacity development. The capacity development of the community to engage into tour guiding, to engage into product development. Because it takes a while to really develop tourism. I will give you one specific example of product development. Diving. Sulu is at the core of the marine life of the country. What does that mean? If Tumataha Reef and all the Palawan diving sites have gained international recognition, just think of the Sulu and Tawi-Tawi being the core at the center of the marine life of the country. What could have been there? It could have been more than what we are seeing on prints and seeing on publications of the experience you could go or you could have sa Palawan. There could be more. But what does it require for a diving as an adventure, as a tourism product to develop? Hindi mo siya pwedeng i-open unless you have produced a master diver. To produce a master diver, there will be 5 sets of training that they have to undergo. You could not do that in 1 year. You see? So it could be a phases of training before eventually you could produce a master diver. And master diver for a company or a beach resort to engage into diving as an activity, it has to also comply with the standards. So that's another 2 years or 3 years. So before you could probably launch a dive BARMM, experiencing the eco-marine resources that we have at the depths of the sea, it would take you 2 to 3 years to prepare that. So that is why we engage with the LGU to really make the prioritizations of what they would want to have on their specific communities, the next 3 years would be more on the capacitation, institutional building, and from there, the following years would be more on the promotion, more on the events that we could probably open it for international diving competition so that more people could come and it could bring more promotions of the farm. That going to the Sulu is not really what it took. It took so long to build a good image because there is more to it. And that is what we would like to achieve. That at the end of the 10th year, it's already the business sector that is taking over the tourism industry. And it's already mean employment, income, and opportunity for the community to eke out a living out of those things na mangyayari. So there are more to it. That's why tourism development is not just merely about conducting events. This summit was purposely designed to tell the LGUs, to tell the national and other partners that we are ready for tourism development because we already had formulated a 10-year development framework for our LGUs and the communities to be engaged because we already have the blueprint. So it's just like civil engineering work. Pag may blueprint ka na sa bahay mo, paunti-unti mo na yung phase 1, o ito muna ang kaya ko. Phase 2, ito muna ang kaya ko. Phase 3, ito na ang kaya ko because I am going to build a mansion of my own. So that's how we look at the 10-year development plan. So there's a lot to work, as you have witnessed, how other critical agency partners like connectivity, when we talk of connectivity, we're also looking forward on this agency like MOTC. Because the seaport and the airport, it's under them. It's not for tourism. That unless all the critical infrastructure support will be built by them, saan ko padadaanin ang turista ko? Saan ko sila palalanguyin? And so with the private sector, the hotels, that's why I am so happy you have seen yung mga hotels na andito are all accredited by tourism. What does that mean? They had complied with the standard. Kahit matulog sa kanila ay isang ASEAN foreigner, they had complied with the standard. Because it is an ASEAN integration of standard. Hindi yan standard ni BARMM, hindi standard ni Pilipinas. It's the standard of other countries that have been adopted by the Philippines. And also that's the same standard that we are implementing to our private sector, especially yung mga tourism-related establishment. So if you could just hear on them, if only there are testimonies na na-incorporate natin sa program, you could hear them say that hindi na kaya ng room nila ang accommodation ng mga taong pumupunta sa mga places nila. That's why it had created an investment opportunity that they have expanded and come up with another branches of their hotels. Iba nga lang yung pangalan. Akala mo hindi siya parihong owner, but nakapangalan siya sa iba't ibang. Just like Rachel of Tawi-Tawi, ngayon ang other next hotel niya is Yalus, no? So ganun, there are more. And you will be surprised to see, hope you could have the opportunity to go to Tawi-Tawi, to Sulu, and even Lanao, and even everywhere, no? Maguindanao is also catching up, no? For its tourism development. So it would really take a lot of effort on the part of the local government unit and the community at large that they are serving and where they would always look. Kasi ang tourism, hindi naman all the places eh. Hindi naman lahat na Magallanes to Husilim to ano, lahat, ano yan eh. There are always champions. There will always be champion. When we talk about culture indigenous people in Maguindanao, which place are you about to think about? It's definitely UP.
Yes.
So, mayroong kanya-kanyang characteristics, no? Ang bawat place. And let that characteristic be discovered. Doon yun sa first 3 years of the plan. Na makita yon. That's why we would always urge the local government to formulate their local tourism development plan. Para makita natin, we could draw at the regional level sa BOT what could be the subsequent programs namin that we could address it to them and improve on their tourism development. It could either be in the areas of infrastructure because every time we submit infrastructure na road network, kailangan ng endorsement natin sa BOT to the MPW na itong road that we are proposing is papunta doon sa site destinations. At sasabihin natin sa MOTC, kailangan doon ng maliit na port kasi doon pumupunta yung mga turista, baka mahulog doon sa mga bato-bato kasi doon sila pumupunta sa place at dito yung kanilang stations. So, that's how we work at it. Kaya napaka-importante yung tourism plan because that's where we're all aligning every initiative na mayroon tayo.
Thank you, Ma'am Tess. So, another question po, Sir Den.
Good afternoon po, ma'am. Dan Kadatuan po from Voice FM 92.1. Maliban doon po sa Bangsamoro Tourism Development Plan, how about naman po doon sa inilunsad na memorandum circular para doon sa halal food o halal tourism? Kumusta po yun? Ano po yung nakapaloob doon, ma'am?
Okay. Halal tourism, di ba nasabi ko sa inyo yung product development. Diving is an adventure product that we can offer. Halal is a very large industry, no? Isa siyang malaking driver for economic growth. Yung halal in the BARMM, may edge tayo over it kasi we need not be educated of the halal because generally, halal is best understood by the people in the region than it is being understood by other people in other regions. Kasi nga, we ourselves do practice, hindi lang, it's not a practice, but it's our requirement to really go into the halal food. Okay? So, halal food, the MTIT Bureau of Tourism, as chair of the Bangsamoro Halal Board, is now crafting the halal industry development plan. Okay? And if we look into the framework of the plan, is magmula pa sa seeds, no? Kasi food-based eh. Of course, the halal is so wide. Merong Islamic financing, merong pharmaceutical, merong lifestyle. But generally, the bulk of the halal industry is on the food. No? Kasi everybody eats it eh. Unlike sa lifestyle, pwedeng modest attire ka lang. Sa pharmaceutical, there's a lot of alternatives. And for yung sa mga pang-beauty, you could always have the options to do otherwise, to make use other things. But for food, it's a mandatory requirement for everyone to really eat. So the bulk of the halal industry will be dedicated also to the halal food. Kasi doon pa lang sa slaughtering, we already have sets of standards to follow, guided by the tenets of Islamic teachings on what really makes it the proper way to do the slaughtering. So on the part of the tourism, on how we go about it, we have this gastronomy tourism as one of the product. We wanted to showcase yung mga traditional food, no? Mainstreaming it into the main stage of the food industry. If you have the knowledge about the chula itom being served in a restaurant nasa airport, not sa Terminal 3, chula ito, no? So, it is being served in an exit and entry point in Terminal 3 or Terminal 2. That brings, no? You now mainstream your traditional food to the main food industry. And there are a lot more. Yesterday, Chef Malikol, chef, Malicol, yung ating cook ng Nestle, no? While sabihin natin na to really promote the Nestle products, but if you look into the kind of product that he is promoting is dinilutan. That's typically ours, no? It so happen kasi if you have seen him do, minsan gumagawa yan ng liningil, gumagawa yan ng piyaparan, no? So while it is promoting Nestle products that as an alternative ingredients, no, for easy cooking, but it never diminish the identity of the food itself. Dinulutan pa rin siya, piyaparan pa din siya, and all of that. It doesn't disentangle that characterization of that halal food, no? And to the identity na attributative sa atin, na atin yan, pagkain natin yan. The pastil, atin yan. Oh, but pastil, can it be done differently in such a way that it could just take you 1 minute to prepare it? Yes, it can be done. Diba? That's why they're coming up with a lot of alternatives, no? Infusioning other way of doing it, but never had it been diluted of its characterization. Pastil pa din siya. Dinulutan pa din siya. And all of that. Ginutom tuloy ako. Bakit ba ka napunta sa halal food? Yeah. But that's very, very important. We look forward to the halal development plan, no? Which MTIT and MAFAR and other member agency is crafting, no? Para from there makita natin, no? Kasi sa amin, sa tourism, doon kami eh. And what do we have? Muslim friendly establishments. Yung Muslim friendly establishments namin, meron siyang 3 categorization. Okay? So, out of these 3 categorization, what is highly acceptable to us is the 3rd category. Because the 3rd category is already requiring halal certification by an accredited halal certifier. Doon sa halal board, ginagawa yung accreditation ng mga certifiers. So there are sets of rules and standards that certifiers has to comply with or has to align and follow so that when they would do accreditation or certification of Muslim-friendly kitchen for the hotel and restaurants, doon pumapasok si tourism. Yun yung kanya. Okay? So I hope I was able to shed light, no, into your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Tess. So, there are no more questions, ano? Meron pa.
Hello. Yes, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Engineer. Teya Abdul Karim from 94.7 TM Radio FM. So we observed this BARMM Tourism Summit 2025. It was so amazing and very successful since in the first day, second day, and today. So what is the very highlights of this program, Ma'am Engineer? Thank you.
Okay. The very highlight primarily is the 10-year development framework that we officially launched. So, officially launched, ibig sabihin, we now give the blueprint for our stakeholder to look at it and align kung saan sila pwedeng doong pumasok sa framework na yon. So that's the very highlight because everything is contained in there. Okay? So, mga sidelights na lang itong, kasi highlights eh. Our centerpiece is just a reflections of the narratives of the Bangsamoro people. Like, ginakit. How would you look at the ginakit na ang lens mo is tourism? that in the early civilization, when there is no aeroplano and there is no land transportation, our mode of transportation is by the ginakit. Because the ginakit is being used for navigations of people around the world. That's why Magellan came over because he used that boat. Sharif Kabunsuan arrived into our shore because of the ginakit. And so even in Tawi-Tawi, that's why they also have the Lepa Festival. If you could have a very eye of catching of the ginakit, nakita nyo yung ulo niya. Ginakit siya na merong reflections of the Lepa. Because yung Lepa boat ng mga island, that was also used earliest, no? With the coming of the mga Sharif, they also made use of those. At yung symbol doon, hindi yon something na nilagay lang for architecture, no? Ginagawa talaga nila yon na symbol of their boat, really, to give the impressions that they are voyager, that they are a nation of people. Kasi before, when they traverse, when they navigate, they don't come in single boats. They come as an empire. They come in complete entourage when they come here. You see? So, our narratives of tourism emanating from the earliest part of our history is making use of the boat. That's why ginakit is a reflections of how we descended into the ancestors that came to us earlier in time, making use of that boat. Okay? And the other centerpiece as placed here, nakita nyo events sa entertainments, no? It's reflecting, no? Yung mga traditions natin. Because these traditions, hindi ito atin lang eh. This is a shared heritage. Even the Sagayan and the dragon dance of the Chinese could best establish the link. Nakita nyo yung sound ng tugtog ng Sagayan and the sound and tugtog ng dragon dance na ginagawa. And who are the Chinese in the history of the Muslims people long before the Magellan discovery of the Philippines? Kaya makita nyo, sabi nga ni BCPC sa presentation ni Director Lingasa, hindi na tayo nag-uumpisa ng when Magellan discovered the Philippines on 1521. Because earlier than that year, there are already earlier civilizations that are already in place. That's why they had changed the timeline, that their historical writings for Bangsamoro is emanating from the 12th century. Okay? So when we talk about that period, we would always have the reflections of the traditions, the kulintang, even our inawul. Haven't you asked for yourself who used to wear the dress that I am wearing before you and all other dresses that you are wearing with you long before the introduction of the China trade or the thread coming from China, because it's the silk as a form of trading with our people here in exchange of copper and gold and other minerals that we have here. So, mga things kanon, napaka fulfilling on our part that when we talk of our heritage, nag-uumpisa ka sa kwento mo. At yung mga kwento na yon, ang gusto nating iakyat at gusto nating i-walk through. Kahit pa sabihin mong in the midst of modernization, kahit pa sabihin mong Generation XYZ na ang influencer ng ating mga policy decisions, ng ating mga programming, hindi pa rin dapat mawala yung kasaysayan na mayroon tayo. And that is what we are really emphasizing and giving credence na kahit saan man tayo dalahin ng pagprogreso natin, it will never compromise yung ating heritage. At nasabi ko kanina, ano yung heritage na sinasabi ko? Mayroon tayong 9 domains ng heritage na mayroon tayo. Okay? So, yun yung mga, the very highlights of it. Kasi itong mga plenary sessions, this was designed purposely na yung mga policy issues natin ma-respond ng ating regional government through enactment of Bangsamoro Act, no? O di kaya whatever laws that may probably be pwedeng executive order ng Office of the Chief Minister, pwedeng batas na gagawin ng mga members of the parliament, o di kaya mga memorandum of understanding or agreement. These are the many forms and kinds of enabling laws para lang mapalakas natin yung partnerships and collaboration ng mga partner agencies natin na very critical ang role nila sa pag-develop ng tourism dito sa region na to. That is why we come up with the plenary. And we have heard doon pa lang sa umpisa with the heritage, doon sa peace and order, we have good speaker, we have Taharudin, we have Paisandra, we have the youth sector telling us what the peace all about for the tourism. No? Iba yung peace na ibang level of peace. Pero sa tourism kasi, iba din eh. 'Di ba? Sa peace kasi sa tourism kasi hindi pwedeng kailangan na, hindi ka pwede dyan kasi danger na yan. Sa tourism, borderless, kaya nga wala nang visa yung mga ibang country eh. Kasi gusto nila, it is an open spaces. So sa turismo, pag sinabi mong peace in tourism or peace tourism, it has to be borderless. Hanggang doon sa pinakatok-tok ng bundok na yan, kung mayroon akong ma-experience doon na something na exotic food, na doon lang siya pwedeng matagpuan na fruit, o di kaya mayroon doong bird na doon lang, mga migratory bird, na doon mo lang siya makikita, that has to be accessible for your tourists because yun yung mayroon ka sa lugar mo. So, iba siya. Hindi siya all about the peace agreement. But it has to be creating open spaces for tourism, for tourists, for travelers to experience. So, yun yung mga gusto nating mapaintindi sa kabataan, mapaintindi sa mga LGU, mga Municipal Tourism Officer, mapaintindi sa ating nagmamarket sa atin na mga tour packages, na travel agency, at also sa suporta na rin ng ating mga nasa industry, no? To include Philippine Airlines and all the partners na kasama natin. Even environment, sinabi niya talaga, ito talaga pag sinabi mong sustaining tourism sites, pag ecotourism yan, community-based approach, ito siya dapat. So, ibig sabihin, sinasabi na sa atin lahat. Ipinapaalam sa level ng ating knowledge so that as we engage, as we develop program, as we develop projects and conduct activities, it will align to the standards that they set before us. Para nang sa ganon, tourism could not deplete what we have as our heritage dahil gusto natin yung mga heritages na yan maabutan at maipasa pa natin sa future generation. So, yun yung why we're coming out with this summit.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Tess. That concludes our press conference for the first ever BARMM Tourism Summit. Thank you so much for joining us as of this moment. Ma'am Tess? Thank you po
Thank
for
you. Thank you,
providing
Pam.
our media partners insightful knowledge about our event and ways forward. Thank you po, Ma'am Tess.
Thank you, Pam, sa grupo ng Bayo, sa grupo ng Info-Incom ng MTIT, at sa lahat ng mga connect at mga friends nila sa media. There's a lot more to do about the tourism development in the region. Your role matters so much. Let you be the ambassador of peace, the ambassador of promoting tourism in the region because you are a reflections of the community you belong. So your places, there's a lot of assets, there's a lot of good things to talk about. Even when you wake up in the morning and you have seen a falling star, that's really worth a story that it has really fulfilling to have that kind of experience. Okay, so thank you so much for this engagement, and we look forward to more engagement with you. Okay, thank you.